Welcome to Gatecrashers, a podcast dedicated to kicking open the door to your next favorite thing. Our mission, our creed, and our code is this: to make all things more approachable and accessible to everyone. We want you to find a universe that you'll fall in love with. Today, I am joined by a Locus Award-winning science fiction and fantasy writer who is the current scribe of Dr. Aphra and Deadpool over at Marvel Comics, Alyssa Wong. I'm Dan. My pronouns are he, him. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm Alyssa. My pronouns are they, them. And I'm super excited to talk to you today.
I'm very excited to have you here. So typically, my interviews start off with a pretty hard-hitting, award-winning journalist question, but something in Deadpool I have to ask before everything, and I have to get it out up front. Are you a fan of Rae Jepsen?
Oh my god, I love Rae Jepsen.
Incredible.
I adore Rae Jepsen. I was literally just listening to her latest album like 20 minutes ago while working.
So we are huge fans of Carly. Like we just saw her when she was in Philly. Like, I've never been at a band like the front of a show, but I was like, this is it. I'm getting up there. It's like have you ever been to one of her shows?
No. Oh,
it's like
I
a dance party.
So
it's incredible. It's like the entire crowd is so wonderful, and like everyone just has a great time. But with
that's amazing.
I know this is going to be a really hard question, but what is your favorite song? Or I'll give you an easy out. What is a song you're currently listening to on repeat?
Okay. So funny you should ask. I've been listening to Beach House, her latest album. It's actually on, I have a Deadpool playlist that I listen to when I write. It's actually on that playlist. So, topical. And I know that this is like a super basic answer, but it is still the right answer, in my opinion, which is that my favorite Rae Jepsen song is still Call Me Maybe.
Wow.
I heard it again, I think 2 days ago, because it just came on randomly, and I was like, This is still a banger.
It is.
It's been
100%.
a billion years. It's so good.
It's so funny because I'm so deep into the music all the time that sometimes I forget that's like the most popular song. And when she sang it at the concert, everyone freaked out. But I was like, oh yeah, that's the one people love. Super so excited. When I saw the reference in the issue, I was like, this is going to be the run for me. Like, I finally got into Deadpool. This is it. Also, that playlist, what else is on there? Like, I love hearing about what writers listen to when they're writing these books.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I have I don't know. Actually, can I ask you a question? And you can cut this out if you want. Can I swear on your podcast? Is that okay?
Oh, you can say whatever the fuck you want. Yeah. No, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have the mouth of a sailor. I'm from New Jersey. Every other word is fuck. So don't worry.
Okay. I wanted to make sure before, yeah. So my playlist is basically, it's like, it's a playlist that your friend puts on if they're throwing a rad pool party and they also a huge shit poster. So it's got, it's got Kim Petras, it's got Ninja Sex Party.
Yes.
Highly recommend Welcome to My Parents' House, which is the second track on this playlist.
Saw them a couple weeks ago as well. It sounds like this is going to be the book for me in general. Party at Your Parents' House live wasn't just acoustic. It was an acoustic set they did.
What?
Ninja Brian was on the show last year.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love him.
Yeah, he is a brilliant person. Like, his astrophysics. He has a PhD in astrophysics. I think it is something.
That's amazing.
Something wild. But that is so interesting. Okay, well, so you can say it's canon that Deadpool listens to Ninja Sex Party then.
I mean, I would be surprised if Deadpool didn't listen to Ninja Sex Party.
Wow.
There are also like 3 Panic at the Disco songs on there because I couldn't choose just one. It's the playlist. The vibe is like, it's fun. It's a little trashy. It's extremely horny. And I mean, I feel like that's just such a good vibe for every day, honestly.
I have never been so excited to keep going with an interview. The absolute energy that all of those songs have. I might have to ask you for the playlist afterwards because I have to. I'm so excited to talk about this now. Give me a second.
Yeah, you can have it. I'll send it to you.
So, let me get to the hard-hitting journalism now. What I'm known for. I hope you're ready. What's your favorite sandwich?
Oh, that's a really good question. I love a good BLT. I don't know. Like, you just can't beat it.
Yeah, it's simple. It's a
crunchy.
go-to.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
I have this. My secret is that I like to eat components more than I like to eat like sandwiches. So if a sandwich, I'll just take it apart and I'll eat each piece one by one. But with a BLT, I'm just like, I'm gonna eat the whole thing. I know it's very weird, but I do this for salads too. I'm a maniac.
I can't. I am too. I didn't realize other people did it, so I never talk about it. Because like I'd rather take it apart and eat it piece by piece. At last, wow. I feel like this is going to be my best interview ever. I think we're on the same wavelength already. Okay, so got a couple of questions about Dr. Aphra in the end, but I would love to get into Deadpool. So, Deadpool. This is all in caps on my page. For you personally, what draws you into a character like him?
That's a really good question. So when I think for a character like Deadpool, I think I've talked about this before a little bit, but like I think that part of why Deadpool is so popular and has been like sort of an enduring presence for at this point, I think like 30 years or so, is that he's really fun and there's like a little bit of something for everyone. So if you like stupid jokes, Deadpool. If you like ridiculous over the top violence, Deadpool. If you like a guy who's just a little clown, Deadpool. And if you want, for me, I think the appeal of Deadpool is that he's this fast-talking disaster who is both really funny and also like, but people don't like him because he just can't help himself. And I love characters like that. I also love that I've found that when you have a character who like talks a lot and is always making jokes, I'm like, there's something under there, like a real vulnerability that they don't want you to see because they just cover it up with layers and layers and layers of words. If you are so annoying that no one can stand you, you never have to get close to anybody. And that is something that I find really intriguing about a character like Deadpool.
So I have to jump later I have to go to a later question because so in this book, we're seeing Deadpool, he's smitten. As soon as he sees Valentine, he's just like his jaw drops. He does he can't even control his words. As soon as he sees them, it's just like his mind goes blank. He's like, so are we gonna see sides of Deadpool in this book that haven't really been explored before, like the vulnerabilities of the character?
I mean, I think that everyone has their own take on Deadpool. I am big into exploiting characters' vulnerabilities, so yeah, we're going for it. I think that there was something just deeply mortifying about meeting someone who sees through your bullshit, you know? And it's extra stressful when you realize that you're really into them, and it's extra stressful if they are like, hey, actually I'm really into you, because I mean you can't really get close to somebody without being honest with them. And I think that that's a challenge that Deadpool is going to have to confront as this run goes on.
I'm so excited. I'll get to that relationship later, but that makes me so excited to be able to see the vulnerability in this character, because he wears a mask 99% of the time. You don't really get to see what he's feeling because he's always making these jokes. So, Well, on the topic of that, how do you personally think Wade sees himself?
Ooh. I think he sees himself as somebody who nobody takes seriously. And I think that oftentimes I found that when you have this image of yourself as somebody who people don't think is smart, or people don't think you're competent or whatever, that's like a wound that lives like way at your heart. And sometimes you just want to forget it by covering up and like leaning hard into it. And you're like, I'm going to own it. Like, I'm just going to be I'm gonna be the biggest dumbass that there's ever been. And I think Wade knows that he's very competent and knows that he's got a lot going on. The thing I don't think Wade knows is I don't think he actually thinks he's attractive. Because when I was doing my research, everyone's always talking about how he's ugly and how he smells bad, and there's the classic thing where he pulls his mask off and the woman he's talking to runs away because she's like, oh God, you're hideous.
Mm-hmm.
And that always felt extremely sad to me. I feel like a lot of us have had that experience, maybe not that specific experience, but that to me lives at the heart of Wade, right? It's the fear that when you pull the mask off, what people see is not going to be what they want to see, and they're going to leave you. So that's something that when I was reading Deadpool as research for this run, I was like, oh, that's a really interesting, very real something that I want to bring into this run. So I think I see Wade as somebody who sees himself as the funny guy, the smart aleck, but also someone who is no one's ever actually gonna want to be here with me, for me. All my relationships end. People call me pizza face, that's not someone anyone wants to keep around.
Wow. Yeah, that was a great answer, especially off the cuff. That's very tragic. That there are two most popular X-Men, and I don't care who gives me flack for this. There's Wolverine and there's Deadpool. And I 100% will always refer to him as an X-Men just because everyone gets so angry. This question I actually got to ask Percy about Wolverine. So with the world of mutants being a wholly different thing in where we're at now, how do you think Wade sees himself in the scheme of the Krakoa era? Do you think he feels more like an outsider now than ever before, or do you think he feels like he might have a place to belong because all mutants have kind of been treated as equals amongst themselves?
That's a really good question. I think that in a lot of ways he feels more alienated. That would be my guess anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Krakoa is open to all mutants. I think that Deadpool doesn't he's not actually specifically classified as a mutant, but he is part of the X-Force, so he can access Krakoa. But at the same time, there's a solid physical separation of Krakoa and not Krakoa. And there's a knowledge that he's always going to be a guest there if he is allowed there, and he can be kicked out, which happens in the prologue story that I wrote for this issue, for this run. I mean, it was a side story in New Mutants 30, where he's babysitting all of the kids, all the New Mutants kids, and then the adults come back and they're like, you can get the fuck out.
Have to go.
Stop giving children grenades. Get out of
here. Laura Kinney is Honey Badger, right? Or is that X-23?
So she's Honey Badger. Okay, so I was trying to explain this to my spouse. Yeah, so Laura is X-23. She's Wolverine, and then Honey Badger is Gabby, who is Laura's clone. So, but baby.
Yeah, so their relationship, Deadpool and their relationship, I love. I think that's such a wonderful dynamic.
They're so cute. They're so cute. I love that.
Yeah, he's the messy uncle. Yeah, he's the one who you get to go have fun with and do things you're not supposed to.
Mm-hmm. Now, the uncle who lets you climb on the roof.
Yeah.
And your parents come home and they're like, what did you do?
The house is on fire. It's fine. With this being a new number 1, do you think this is a good jumping on point for readers?
I think so. I designed it. That was something I really wanted to design this to be. I wanted it to be a good place for anybody who wanted to read Deadpool to start. And whether I mean, that's what I think any good number one does, is it makes like people who are veteran fans really happy. And, it brings in a lot of references, like people who are big fans of the characters coming in will be like, oh yeah, that's my guy. But if you've never read any Deadpool, or say any Dr. Aphra, I want you to be able to be introduced to the characters really quickly. I want you to be able to follow it easily, like no problemo. I feel like a number one should welcome people in. And that's something that I really wanted to do with this number one and with this series as well. I think one of the most amazing things anybody has ever said to me was something that I've gotten a couple of times, actually, which is that I've had people who are like, I like your other stuff. I don't care about Deadpool, but I'm really interested in this, and I want to read it because you're writing it. Do you still think, if I don't care about Deadpool, or even like I don't really like Deadpool, do you still think I might like this? And I hope so. And I've heard back from a number of them, and they're like, hey, I read it and I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I would like Deadpool, but this is my jam. And that's such an honor,
I didn't want to lead the witness on that question, but it absolutely, for our listeners, like, I think this is maybe I've only read a handful of number ones for Deadpool because, again, I'm just getting started into the Marvel outside of Spider-Man world. This is such a good introduction to the character because you get a little bit of the flair, but it gives you this side that has always been missing for me, which is the vulnerability. Like, I've read most of Deadpool and Spider-Man, so I've seen it a little bit, but this is like, oh, wait, I love Deadpool now. Like, I'm so excited for issue 2. Now, after these questions, there's going to be spoilers about issue 1. So if you want to go into the issue knowing nothing, absolutely pause here. Go read the issue. It is now out. You can get it anywhere you get comics, including Third Eye Comics. If you go to the website, they can hook you up. And it will be on the Marvel Unlimited app in 3 months or something like that. It'll be on there eventually. They're pretty quick with that. So, just spoilers. Let's talk a little bit about the body horror alien type story that's going on in issue 1, because I'm a huge horror person. And the fact that there is a little carnage growing inside of Deadpool is just wild. What made you want that to be your kind of through line in the first issue?
Oh my God. Okay. So I was talking to Jordan White, who I love, who's my editor. And he was like, hey, so like, what are some characters you would want to write? And I was like, I don't know. We just started talking about stuff and Deadpool came up. And I was like, I have all these questions about Deadpool. So like, he's really hard to kill, right? And Jordan goes, yes. And I go, okay, so we've seen people cut off pieces of Deadpool and then grow more Deadpools, right? And Jordan goes, yes. And I say, okay, so what if you took Deadpool's kidneys or liver out, would they grow back? And Jordan was like, and I was like, or what if you took a piece of somebody else? Could you grow it inside of Deadpool? And Jordan was like, I don't know. I was like, well, I don't know.
What if I took his liver and put him in a bathtub full of ice? What happens then?
Right. I was like, well, okay, Deadpool is like an organ farm. Like, why not? Right. You have just infinite organs. Like, that's rad. You could do so much with that. You could make so much money off of selling kidneys. Like, it would be amazing.
Are they good organs? Like, I know his.
I don't know.
Are they like dollar store organs or like.
Or are they like super regenerative organs, yeah. Right? I don't know. I do know that if I was writing that particular storyline, it would cause more problems than like good.
Marvel doesn't. What is DC has Black Label? I guess Marvel doesn't have Max. No, yeah, Max. It would be a Max story. That was Ennis. Yeah, that makes sense.
I love horror. Like body horror has been like my favorite thing basically as long as I've been alive. The human body is just this infinitely fascinating, I don't know, system.
Do you have any touchstones for body horror that you like swear by?
So I was gonna say, my very favorite, like everyone talks about Junji Ito, and I love Junji Ito stuff so much. Adore it. My favorite body horror manga though is Frankenfran. Frankenfran is about this like Frankenstein's monster style creature named Fran. She was created by like a famous doctor to be like the best surgeon in the world, and then her doctor dad disappears, so she's trying to find him. However, it's like this episodic manga about like each this episodic manga in which Frankenfran tries to solve people's problems using science, but she has a very limited idea of like what is and isn't acceptable for people to do. So she has these like very, very interesting, technically they are solved solutions to problems, but they're always extremely horrifying.
So I am a new manga fan in the past year after 30 years of my brother trying to convince me however long he's been alive, he's been trying to convince me to get into manga. Chainsaw Man did it. I read the entire series in a day, and now I'm like, I probably consume more manga than I do comics right now, which is saying something. I Googled this one, and the mixture of horny and this human being turned into what looks like a very large caterpillar screams that I need to read this book.
I adore Frankenfran. It's so cute. She's so cute. She has the best intentions, but yeah, like the caterpillar thing comes from like a very early I almost said episode, but it's very early issue where I think a girl gets hit by a bus or something like that and dies horribly after this boy confesses to her and she turns him down, and when she wakes up you can just see her face, and then you pull out and she's become this giant caterpillar creature with her head stuck on. And Frankenfran's like, oh, don't worry, I like this boy. This boy brought you here to me. I'm saving you. I've never done this before, but when caterpillars become butterflies, they go into their chrysalis and then they melt themselves down and then they reform completely. So we're going to see if that works for you. It probably will. Guess we'll find out.
I know we're supposed to be talking about your book, but like now I'm there is the panel I'm looking at. It's Frankenfran. One of their eyes are coming out and it says, "Would it be fine if I helped you alone?" And you know what? You writing Deadpool makes sense to me now. Like this kind of all clicks together. Wow, oh I'm gonna have to figure out where I can read this because this looks wild.
It's so good. It's so good.
Wow. I'm sorry. If the listeners could see my eyes right now, they're just as big as they've ever been because I'm just like looking at the covers. The covers are like very like horny heavy, and then it's just next to this most like someone's eye is falling out of their head, or they're like putting a knee. Like, wow. Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to buy that. So.
You really should. It's great. It's got a lovely blend of like comedy and as you said, like horny. The covers are very like oh look, a girl and she's
is that what they call it?
They're very fan servicey. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the insides are super horrific. But like there's a certain charm, I think, and lightness to it. And I think if you look at this Deadpool first issue, there is a lot of very gnarly body stuff going on, but I also wanted it to feel kind of light, light and fun, even as all this crazy stuff is going on.
Yeah. The blend works. I'm still trying to like reel my brain back in from Frankenfran.
Sorry.
No, it's my favorite thing about these interviews is learning more about the people who make art and what art made them. And this it tracks. Like it made some things click, which is awesome because now I get to read a new book. But back to Wade. Deadpool is a character who is super expressive in his own emotions and in the world around him. What is the collaboration like between you and Martin Krakoa on the book?
Yeah.
Krakoa on the book.
Oh, Martin's so good. He's so good. He is so good. It's ridiculous.
It is such a beautiful book.
Every single time he turns in a page, it just makes my entire day. Like, I'll write these scripts and they'll be super goofy. And like the way that I write a script actually is, I write it for my team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want when the artist I'm working with reads it, I want them to have a good time. I want them to really enjoy it. And I want them to feel inspired. So like rather than like very like I want this shot specifically in like this space. They're very narrative. Like the panel descriptions are extremely narrative. So I'll turn in these scripts and I'll be like, I hope he likes it. And then he'll turn in these pages and I'm like, it looks like you're having fun. And I hope he is. But I really think you can tell in somebody's art if they're really enjoying drawing what they're drawing.
Yeah.
I feel so lucky to get to work with him. He's so good. And you mentioned earlier that Deadpool's a character who wears a mask all the time. And the faces that Deadpool makes that Martine draws are so expressive. They're so beautiful.
It is so interesting to see a character who is mostly red and black in color scheme and have it be so expressive because of their use of art and also the coloring, like the way it's shaded and everything is very expressive about Deadpool, and you can just tell what's going, like what he's feeling. Oh, it's a beautiful. I just reread it before this. I'm just like, it's so crazy to me to see like a costume that is kind of, and it hasn't really been redesigned in quite a long time, but like it's not plain, but the color scheme is very two-tone. It's very interesting to see how much they can take from that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Niraj is the colorist, and he is one of my favorite colorists. He's so good. His choices are really interesting, is the thing. Yeah. I don't know. Everything looks like kind of luminous and really intriguing. This is slightly spoilery. I guess we said there were spoilers, but there's a scene where Deadpool breaks in through like a skylight, and the greens and reds in that scene are just so vivid. And
I'm gonna ask about him later, but like the light in Doc Ock's goggles is so fucking good.
It's gorgeous.
It's like it's such a beautiful, like expressive, like, oh shit, he's bad. He's a bad. Well, surprise, Dr. Octopus is a bad guy.
Bad dude.
Yeah, if you haven't figured that out yet. So there are pages in this that are just like straight references to things, like the Always Sunny page where it's the Charlie Day Pepe Silva scene where he's like standing in front of the big board, like trying to figure things out. How do those things come about? Is that Martine doing those? Is that in your script? Like, how did all of that come out?
So if I want to reference something, I'll put it in the script and I'll be like, oh, it's like this thing. And then here's the image, right? I want to say for that particular panel, I was like, and here we see Deadpool like talking directly to us, addressing the audience. He's standing next to a big wall that's like conspiracy board theory style wall with a bunch of red threads running everywhere. And we see, pictures of Doc Ock that are, some of which are flattering, some are not, like pictures of like, blueprints and like surveillance photos, also like a picture of Valentine and some like selfies that were like that Wade's taken, hearts drawn around there. And then I would include the image. I was like, yeah, it's just like, it's like this. And then I'll include the image as like a reference of what it's like. It was Martine's choice to do it specifically exactly like that. And it is perfect. It's so beautiful.
It is such a good page. I love it. Like I read most things digital because I do the review copies to talk about books. And it's one of those pages, like I have to buy it physically because like I want to see the spread. Like I want to look at it with my human eyes, not my digital eyes. So the person that's putting Deadpool through the ringer in this is the harrower, who was created for Steve Orlando's Curse of Man Thing miniseries. What made you want to bring this villain back who has only appeared in a few issues other than that?
She's amazing. Like, I have a huge thing for like extremely intense, vicious, cold, powerful women. Like, I'm like, if I see that on the page, I'm like, that's the one I want to write. Well, issue 2 comes out in a month or so. It's coming out, and if that's something you like, then like you should check out issue 2 for reasons I won't tell you yet.
I'm excited for that.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think she's great. She's got her power spellification, which is like this interesting mix of science and magic, because why not both? And
a little bit of column A, a little bit of B.
Yeah, she's got like biofusion and biofission stuff, so she can pull things apart. She can splice them together like on the fly, and I think that that's such an interesting combination, that it's not just like I can take things apart with science, or I can put them back together through magic, or vice versa. Like, she's so versatile. And I was like, if we're doing body horror, if we're doing growing weird stuff inside of people, then why not someone who's like deeply invested in it? She's also extremely beautiful, so I was excited to see how she would play on the page as well. Mm-hmm. I am a sucker for huge hair, so I was like, this is great. But I like pairing I like pairing a wisecracking character like Deadpool with somebody like in a dynamic with somebody who's just, I don't know, like not even just a straight man, but someone who can go toe to toe with them, but is just super mean. Like, there's something really lovely about that.
There is a page of her. It's like I don't know, you call it like a pinup page, where it's like her in the center with like this circle of monsters she has created, and it is just one of those like mind-blowing, like, oh, this character should be in everything type moments. She's incredible.
I think the reference photo I sent in there was I think I pulled a bunch of Alphonse Mucha illustrations that are absolutely gorgeous, like Art Deco type stuff. And I was like, here's what I have in mind. This like beautiful image, but instead of like the sort of halo shaped kind of stuff that we see, each one of these is like this. You see the stages of the symbiote going from host to host to host to host, moving to them, encapsulating them, devouring them, and then moving on to the next. So we get the same kind of like shape language and iconography, but it's like weird.
Makes me worried for poor Wade. So also in this issue, you introduced a group, and I'm gonna butcher the name, the Atelier, yeah. I told before, we went over this before because I was like, I don't know how to say that out loud. They're this, I think all of them are new except one, right?
Yeah.
So all of them are these, not even just new characters. They are like beautiful, brand new characters. All of them have their own unique style, and you're introduced to them in like this page where they're all sitting in this boardroom. Yeah. I do want to ask about a couple of them. I'm not going to get into spoilers because like I want these characters to get to flesh out on their own. But the one that has basically taken over my brain since I read the issue is the Horned Emperor, who seems to be the leader of the bunch. Mm-hmm. First up, how did the design of these characters happen? Was this notes you were giving? Was it back and forth between you and Marcel? Like, where?
Yeah, so like basically I wrote, so I was like, okay, I would like to have a group of high fashion assassins. Basically like if you took a group of extremely like extra assassins who were like, let's do Hellfire Gala every single day of our lives.
Love them.
So I came up with a bunch of, I learned how to use Pinterest specifically for this. But I was like, I want each one of these characters to have, as you said, their own specific style, and I want it to like sort of reference something very specific. So like there's a character whose name is Drop. He's like Southern California hype beast.
The
like
shoes.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's that like Asian American streetwear like hype beast kind of guy. So that's like Drop. The Horned Emperor, I was like, I I love couture, like weird couture fashion. And specifically, I went and I pulled a bunch of stuff. I think a lot of Alexander McQueen stuff.
It's my favorite designer, so it makes sense why I've been obsessed with the Horn Emperor for this long.
Yeah. I was like, I want to play with, fashion that changes the shape of your body in interesting ways. How do you manipulate the eye in terms of like, how do you make someone's body feel bigger in certain spaces to achieve certain effects? How do you, I don't know, like a lot of weird stuff, like the fact that,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm looking at them right now, and the way you're speaking about the design, like the shoulders are much bigger than the horns. Like it takes up more space in the room than the actual physical self does.
Yeah,
it's such intimidation. But I do want to ask: in your data page for the Horned Emperor, you say they speak in a chorus of voices.
Yeah,
like so when they're speaking, it's like that really trippy kind of like supernatural, like a bunch of voices are stacked together, and it's just speaking at once.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the Horned Emperor a single entity?
That's a good question.
Cool.
And what I can't give you an answer
Yeah,
to.
that's fine. That's all I need to know. Because I have a problem. Like, data pages are a lot for me because I can't keep data in my brain. But these data pages are ones that I like. Sometimes I skip them because they take me out of books so much because it's reading that prose is rough for me. But these I'm like obsessed with because it's like, oh, I love these characters so much. I want to know everything about them. So very cool that is how they speak.
But Martine came up with the designs. I had I put together a big Pinterest with like subcategories of like stuff that I had pulled specifically for each character. And I was like, here's my script. Here are the very brief descriptions of each person and sort of the vibe that they, embody. Here's the link to each person's Pinterest. And, I was like, I hope that this isn't overstepping. I hope that this is helpful. And like, he nailed it. Every single character, he absolutely nailed it. I don't know. He's just incredible.
They're going to be a big presence moving forward, right? Like, just, you don't have to give me anything other than they'll be in the book.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be in the book.
Okay, because I know Marvel loves 9,000 different variant covers for every book, so I really hope I get one with all of them on it, because I want to see them like full fashion covers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So along with them, you also introduce a new character, Valentine Vong, right? With this group as well, who we talked about a little bit earlier, Deadpool is smitten by. What went into the development of the character, and whose design note was it to make their sleeves see-through plastic? Because I am absolutely obsessed with the top they wear in this issue.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I knew that I wanted this to be a romance, to be a body horror rom-com. And and I knew that I wanted Deadpool to fall hard and fast for somebody who, I guess, extra spoilers for upcoming stuff, but falls hard and fast for someone who's not only beautiful, but also like really likes him. Because for me, that's a difference between like a romance story and a story with romantic elements, I guess. I was like, well, who's this character? I knew that I wanted them to be affiliated with this group of assassins so that Wade has extra incentive to do well on this job. But I think they were in the original pitch when I was talking to Jordan, like on that first conversation. I was like, how about a doctor with needle hands? And Jordan was like, oh, that sounds rad. I wanted to introduce a mutant. I am still honestly surprised they let me get away with this. I was like, we need more non-binary characters. So people talk a lot about, I don't know, like Wade jokes a lot about attraction and sexuality. And I was like, this person's beautiful. Let's fucking go for it. You know?
Like, yeah, I'm so glad that it made the page, because like I think it's very important so people can see themselves in books, especially. But it's so nice that it's in a book like Deadpool, where Deadpool's like talks about, he's just a horny character. So it's nice to see him like actually like go further than that. If that makes sense. That he's like, oh, he didn't make any. That poor guy didn't make any weird comments, but he did like that. Okay, so he does. What does he say? Nice needles.
Yeah,
he tells them.
Yeah,
really nice needles.
You have really, really nice needles.
So on the atelier, yeah, their data page, the bottom of it is Wade just taking notes about better things that he could have said. When you do bits like this, there's lines that are crossed out. Did you actually write jokes there that you then crossed out?
Yeah, so all of those jokes that are crossed out are like, they're all in my script at like for the data page, and then I just put a strike through it. So it's just this progression of like deeply unhinged pickup lines, and every single time he's like, no, not that, no. So if you see something that's crossed out, it's crossed out in the script as well.
Interesting. I really want to know what the last one was, because it was longer than the rest. But it is like the most aggressively scribbled out of all of them.
This is my secret.
Incredible. I just love that, like, we're seeing a character, like, I love the idea of love, but I love when someone just like, shit, I could have done that so much better, and then we get to see him work through it. You get to see Deadpool work through it. Like, someone who's literally known as the Merc with the mouth, when he's like, fuck, I could have done something better. And he's like self-noting. Incredible. That was like the best use of data pages, in my opinion.
Thank you. I think the thing about I was gonna say, the thing about Deadpool jokes, right? One of the notes I actually got from Jordan, my first draft or so of the script, was like, hey, like push it a little further, like push it a little further, push it a little further. You can go harder than you're going. And I was like, okay. I mean, coming from Overwatch, right, which is super duper clean stuff. I was like, oh, okay, push it a little harder. What does this Deadpool's jokes look like? And there's some things where I'm like, I just won't make jokes about that because it's off limits for me, you know?
Yeah. Something about your humor in this book, and something that always bothers me about Deadpool, is that sometimes it feels like punching down. Because sometimes the people who are writing them are like that. But it's so nice to see Deadpool jokes that are just genuinely funny and not him. I don't think Deadpool's a piece of shit, and I don't want to see him that way. So getting to see him have jokes and like things like this that humanize him, other than like, you know, like the edgelord thing that like so many people cling to. I love Deadpool, and I'm so happy that he's not an edgelord. So I'm very excited to see where you push humor. Because it worked so well in this issue. Really, I'd love to see how it progresses.
Thank you so much.
Just the truth.
I love writing stupid jokes. It makes me so happy. And I think that there's a big difference between, for example, like when you talk about punching down, I think that there's a big difference between making a joke about somebody else's sexuality versus like just being nervous and stupid and horny, you know? Like I feel like there's a really big difference between making somebody's sexuality the punchline, or like, and versus being like, hey, my attraction's making me act like a clown, you know? Hence the like all the different pickup lines that are all crossed out. Hence sending like cute selfies, like shirtless selfies and like butt shot selfies and stuff like that.
The picture of him on the wall, this shirtless selfie is so good. It is so good. In the wall of like just getting to sit. That's why I want the book, because I want to be able to like look at it all. It's so good.
Thank you.
Before we get to Afra, I do have one question, because as I said, my whole Marvel world until the past couple of years doing this show has been Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Unless it is a spoiler, you don't have to talk about it. What made you want to make Doc Ock Deadpool's first target?
Well, I love Doc Ock.
That's a good answer.
So I love Doc Ock. So I was like, yeah, let's try to murder him. Why not?
Love that character. You know what we should do? Kill him.
Oh my God. I can't remember what, oh man, I don't remember what book this was, and it's eluding me and it's killing me that I don't remember. But there was the, I say it's like the Superior Four, maybe? It came out fairly
Superior 4 by Zach Thompson, yeah.
Yes, with the there's a cover, right, where there are a bunch of Doc Ocks and they're like hanging on like a little rack, and one of them is like, look.
What was that big event? It was Kingpin. It was the big Kingpin event.
Oh
Shit.
yeah,
I love that, man. Hell, I don't know. It was a Daredevil event. That's all I remember. And somehow there was a Doc Ock book, which was awesome.
It was great. That image is burned into my head. I was like, look at this guy. He's so fun and cheeky. Let's have him as target number 1. Like, let's go.
Let's murder him.
Let's see what we can do. I mean, yeah. I mean, I love him. I think he's hilarious. And he's so interesting. And the tentacles are a great visual. Like, so yeah, they are.
I think. Oh, he's over there. I just got him actually as a figure, but he's sitting on my desk over here. I love those. Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery is my favorite thing.
So good.
And Spider-Man even more so. So when he shows up in your book, I'm going to be very excited. But
thank you.
Let's talk about Aphra. And so, Dr. Aphra, you've been writing the book for, is it 20, what issue comes out this week that we're speaking?
Oh my God, it's
26.
coming out this week. Yeah, 26.
Yeah, I wrote a bunch about it actually at the start for CBR when I worked at CBR. Like, it came out and I was like, this book needs more eyes. So I just wrote as much as I could about it.
Thank you.
And I haven't gotten to read as much comics recently. I was flipping through this today when I got my stuff. It looks like there's some stuff. There is some stuff in this issue that happens, and I was like, whoa, okay, nice. I'm so excited that this stuff can happen in Star Wars. But how do you... Let me just note this, that our Star Wars editor, Ethan, did send me these questions. They're very good.
Hi, Ethan.
Yeah, I don't want him to feel like I wasn't giving him the proper respect. How do you balance keeping Aphra's distinct brand of chaos and unluckiness with letting her grow as a character? Or do you see these two things informing each other?
Oh, they absolutely inform each other. Like, I feel like the mistakes you make are directly related to the kind of growth that you either go through or refuse to go through, right? So I feel like, yeah, okay, so I'm like, okay, let's bring it all the way back. I love Aphra's voice. I love her humor. And something that I brought up a little bit earlier, like when I said everyone writes Deadpool differently, everybody writes Aphra differently too. There is, I don't remember who said this, but I remember reading somewhere that like writing a character, a beloved character from some other IP it's sort of like you're a cover band doing a cover of a familiar song. Mm-hmm. So whatever you're writing is your take on this character. And like everyone knows how the song goes. They want to see what you're going to do with it.
That's a very interesting. So the way I think about it is, and this is not discounting anyone's work ever, but Batman and Superman were created by two other people. Everything since then is fan fiction. Like, you're a fan of this thing and you're going to write about it. Like, you're going to make these stories any way you want. You just get paid to do it. Like, you get to make these stories.
It's pretty magical, not going to lie.
Yeah, you are not only playing in the Marvel sandbox, you are in this, like, it is, I don't know if you ever thought about this, but like, this will live forever. Like, you are going to be a part of these two legacies till the world doesn't exist, till like Wikipedia is gone.
Oh my God.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry to drop that bomb on you, but
no, wow. That is crazy. That's crazy to think. That's so crazy. For me, it's just an honor to get to do this. And my favorite stuff is making up new stuff.
Mhm.
So new characters always feels very special. Taking a character into places where they've never been that no one else has ever seen is also very special. I think that for me, when I think back to like who Afra is as a character, and where my like fictional touch points are, I always think of that very first arc that Kieran Gillen wrote, where we're of Dr. Afra, where we're introduced to her and her father and like their dynamic. And then that very last arc that Cy Spurrier wrote, where we're seeing this culmination of this romance that's been built up, doomed romance. It's been built up for 40 issues in volume 1. And her reluctant growth as a person. I always think of those two things. And starting off my run of Dr. Afra, I wanted to honor those things, but also because we're starting again at issue 1, like, who is this person now? Having started here, having ended here, now those are both like lumped together as like her starting point. Who is she now after a brief like time skip? And where is she going to go from there? And how does her future growth, like, how is it informed by what we've seen in volume 1? The person she is and the mistakes she makes, like, that's just intrinsic to who she is. And it's going to inform her growth because, that's the starting point, right?
Yeah.
It shows where we're going to go. And based on the problems she's caused for herself and others, and based on the mistakes she's made, she's going to remember all these. And sometimes you reluctantly grow in a direction, or you remember something, you stubbornly overcorrect, and you wing the other way. So the truth is, I have an idea of where Afra's going to go. I have an idea of how she's going to get there, but I always like to leave room for myself to be surprised. So there's this element of like improvisation and chaos that's sort of inherent, I think, to writing a script for something like Afra.
I like that. So this next one is kind of funny because of what I was geeking out about before. What was it like bringing Talvin back to the book following her last conversation with Afra, then in turn teaming her up with another one of Afra's exes, Sanastaros? That's very funny. This episode will go out after the book is out. So
okay, that's good. Thank you for letting me know.
He has not read the latest issue. So, ooh, all right.
Hi, I'm sorry, Ethan. Man, okay. So I knew that I really wanted to bring Afra's exes back, and I knew that I wanted to bring them back for a heist of some sort. So I originally pitched this arc as the Fast and Furious exes. The idea being
beautiful pitch.
Yeah, it's I feels like a perfect heist kind of thing, right? It's like, one last job. You're the only one who could bring me back. I love the idea that, and in this case, the person that the thing that they're trying to heist is Afra herself. I love stories about people who have hurt other people, and I love seeing where they are now in comparison to when that hurt happened. And also, like, Talvin is such like she's so fun, and she's such a fan favorite. And their love story was 40 issues. It was like throughout all of volume 1. And I was like, I have to bring her back. She and Sana know each other. Why not? Right? And I wanted to wait a little bit before I did, because I wanted to make sure that this Afra run was very much categorized by like her relationship with other people and her growth outside of Talvin as well. So bringing Talvin back now is really cool, because I guess I'm trying to remember like issue 26, I think this happens. Up until now, they haven't seen each other, and it's gonna be interesting. Side note, I just came from writing another script that I can't tell you about and it's just this whole conversation is making me giggle because of that. So
That's incredible. Great. I'm glad that you have all of these secrets.
sorry.
No,
This is probably the worst thing about interviewing.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. I've learned that in the past couple of years. Final after question.
Yeah.
How much fun is it to write for 000 and BT? BT?
Yeah.
There's two of these, yeah.
They're so cute. They're so cute. I love them. Little murder animals. I mean, it's fun, right? I think that it's a very delicate balance. It's sort of like Trip and BT are like ghost pepper salt, where it's like, this is exciting and it makes everything, it makes your dish more interesting, but if you put too much of it in, then like it's the only thing you're going to taste. So I feel like Trip and BT are like, you know, I want to have them in the run, but also, you know, I want them to stay supporting cast rather than like the main event. And it's hard because they're so fun. It's easy for them to take over. So that was a long way of saying I love them. It's really fun. And the most fun thing, like for me, is seeing if I can match Kieran and Sai's voices for them. Which I can't, but it's very fun to try.
So before I ask you what other things people should be picking up, is there anything in interviews that you wish people would ask you more about? I never really asked this, but this conversation has been so interesting. I'd love to hear what people don't typically, what you are super excited about that you don't typically get to talk about.
Ooh. People, weirdly enough, don't usually ask me about who my favorite character in any run is.
Really?
Yeah, like I don't think anyone's ever asked me who my favorite character in any run is.
Huh. Okay, all right. Well, your Deadpool is so new that it would be hard to pick, I assume. Well, all right. Well, let me give you a broader thing. Outside of your Afro run, who is a Star Wars character who you have clung to since you've been into the property?
Ooh,
who is your Glorp Shido? Like your character that like you love that other people are like, who the hell is that?
Okay. So this is a fairly new Glorp Shido for me, but
such a great term.
It's so good. Okay, so Cantum Sai, High Republic Cantum Sai, incredible Jedi, deeply hyper competent, ultra chaos on the inside. Had like a gap year in which they joined the circus for a hot minute and chose love. Like Cantum Sai is incredible. Cantum Sai is my top Glorp Shido.
I'm a big Skrr guy. I think that's how you say it. Skrr, I like it, but Plo Koon is like he has been my favorite since it was like a Jedi video game for PlayStation 1. And for some reason, I was obsessed with the weird looking octopus man. And I've been since. And luckily for me, the guy who is like Dave Filoni, who like runs the whole show now, is super into him as well. So I've gotten so much content with him in the past couple of years. I won.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
Such a good feeling.
What should people be picking up from you? Is there any books they should be buying now? Anything they should be on the lookout for? Even other than your Deadpool and your Afra?
Ooh, other than Deadpool and Afra. Ooh, that's a hard question because I'm always like up to my eyebrows in Deadpool and Afra. Let's see. I have an Alligator Loki run. It's a digital vertical comic on Marvel Unlimited, and it's with Bob Quinn on art and Pete Pentazis on colors, and it's fantastic. It's, I mean, wild for me to say this about my own comic, but like Bob's art and Pete's colors are just incredible. It's really fun. It's really goofy. It's all ages, and it's really, I mean, it's just fun. Like I look at it and it makes me happy, you know? And I think especially these past few years, I'm like, I just need stuff that makes me happy.
I've read the first couple. Again, I've like had such a hard time keeping up with comics, but I love the scroll. I love the feeling of the scroll of those books. So I do try to read as many of them as I can.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, I think that's my only thing that I've got out currently other than Deadpool and Afra. I have something else very weird cooking, but if you really want to support me, read Dr. Afra and take friends, read Dr. Afra, read Deadpool, take friends, read Deadpool. Yeah, I don't know. Tell me nice things, I guess, online.
Just be nice to me. It's fine. Read my books and be nice to me.
I think that there's, I think that I always feel very honored that I get to do this kind of work. When Deadpool 1 came out, there were a bunch of people who were posting pictures of Valentine, and they're like, "Oh my god, they look just like me." And then they post selfies, and I'm like, "They do look just like you," which is the point, right?
Yeah, that's why I was so excited about this book, because it's nice. Even if I'm just me, I want people to see themselves in the books they have. There are way too many heroes that look like me, and it's nice that other people are finally getting the stage. That's like the whole point of this. So books like this and getting to see those things on page are very important.
I think so too. I mean, I feel like when people get stupid mad about this kind of stuff, I'm always just like, I don't understand. There's so many books, and
read something else, like
right, and like there's enough to go around. Everyone should have a character that they're like, that's like me. Either this looks like me, or like I'm like them in some other way, or I relate to them. Whatever. Everyone should have the chance to be a hero, a villain, a love interest, just like some random, just a little guy,
Yeah.
just a little guy.
Just a little guy, and they're doing their little thing. It's just, it's nice to have that, because for me, especially like being fat, like growing up, it was, you got supervillains and that's it. So I've got Doc Ock and I've got Kingpin on lock. I know those guys real well. But like, other than that, I've gotten to see more people who look like me in comics, and it's like, oh shit, we don't have to be the villain all the time. So thanks.
Yeah. I know that feeling.
Yeah. Well, if things keep getting better, there's always room for more.
I think so.
Better. Everything can be better always. You can find us at gatecrashers.fan, where we do reviews, analysis, interviews, all of that good stuff. You can find us on all social media at gatecrasherspod. Thank you. It's the Gatecrashers.